I was standing on the side of a mountain road when my car died completely. No warning, no mercy, just silence, swallowing the engine and my confidence with it. The wind was sharp, cutting through my coat, and my phone had one bar that flickered like it was mocking me. I stared at the dashboard of my luxury SUV, worth more than most people's homes, and for the first time in years, I felt small. I hadn't felt that way since I was 22. I stepped out, heels sinking slightly into the gravel, heart pounding, not from fear, but from memory. This road wasn't random. I hadn't realized it until now, until the smell of pine and cold air hit me the same way it did all those years ago. That's when I heard it. A slow, uneven engine approaching. Old, tired, still moving. I turned and saw a beat-up pickup truck coming toward me, rust along the edges, windshield cracked, moving like it had no business surviving another mile. It slowed, then stopped. The door opened, and when he stepped out, my breath caught so hard it felt like my chest collapsed inward. Because I knew that walk. I knew those shoulders. I knew that face even with the stubble, even with the exhaustion etched into his eyes. It was him, the man I loved once, the man I left, the man whose heart I broke because I chose ambition over love. "Car trouble?" he asked, voice calm, polite, unfamiliar. He didn't recognize me. Not yet. I swallowed, forcing air into my lungs. Yes, it just stopped. He nodded, already moving toward the hood like helping a stranger was routine for him. No hesitation, no judgment, just quiet kindness. "Pop it open," he said. I did. As he leaned in, sleeves rolled up, hands rough and practiced, I noticed everything at once. The worn wedding ring line on his finger, the exhaustion in his posture, the way life had clearly not been gentle with him. And suddenly, the success I'd built, the boardrooms, the assistants, the titles, felt painfully irrelevant. "I'm Claire," I said softly. He paused for half a second, just enough for me to hope. Then he nodded. "Ethan." The sound of his name hit me like a memory I never recovered from. He worked in silence for a moment, then sighed. "Battery's dead. I can try jumping it, but you might need a tow." "That's fine," I said quickly. "I can pay you, whatever you charge." He straightened and finally looked at me, really looked at me, and shook his head. "No," he said simply. "You don't owe me anything." Something in his tone cracked something inside me, because the Ethan I remembered would have smiled shyly when I offered help. This Ethan had learned how to survive disappointment. As he connected the cables, I watched his hands tremble slightly, not from cold, but from fatigue. "You live around here?" I asked. "Used to," he said. "Still do, I guess, for my kids." My heart stopped. "Kids?" He nodded. "Two. They're waiting for me." That word, waiting, hurt more than it should have. The engine coughed, then roared back to life. Relief rushed through me, but panic followed just as fast. Because I knew once I thanked him, once I left, I might never see him again. And I wasn't ready for that. Not after fate dragged us back onto the same road. "Ethan?" I said quietly. He looked at me again, this time longer. "Yes?" "You really don't recognize me, do you?" His brow furrowed slightly. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. The man I never forgot had learned how to forget me. He wiped his hands on a rag and stepped back, giving the engine one last look, like he was saying goodbye to it instead of fixing it. "That should hold you long enough to get down the mountain," he said. "Don't shut it off until you reach town." "Thank you," I replied, but my voice shook in a way I didn't recognize. "You didn't have to stop." He shrugged. "Someone once stopped for me on this road. Changed my whole night. I guess I'm just paying it forward." That sentence hit me harder than the cold ever could, because I was the someone who didn't stop years ago, when he asked me to stay. I opened my purse, pulled out a stack of bills without even counting. Please, take this. He finally met my eyes properly then, really looked at me. His gaze lingered, not with recognition, but with something quieter, curiosity, distance. No, he said gently, pushing my hand back. I don't help people for money. I laughed weakly. You always hated when I tried to buy my way out of discomfort. The moment the words left my mouth, I knew. His face changed. Not dramatically, not all at once, just a subtle stillness, like something deep inside him had shifted and locked into place. Say that again, he said. I swallowed. You used to say that, back when we— Claire? He interrupted, voice barely above a whisper. My chest tightened. Yes. Time didn't explode. It collapsed. He stepped back like the ground had betrayed him. Claire Adams, he said slowly. The Claire who left town with a suitcase and a promise she never planned to keep? I didn't plan to hurt you, I said, tears burning fast. I thought success would make it easier. I thought— You thought wrong, he said, not cruelly, just honestly. Silence stretched between us, thick with everything we never said. I have kids now, too. They're my whole world. I know, I whispered. You mentioned them. They don't know you, he continued, and they won't. That should have been the end of it, but fate rarely respects clean endings. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, then sighed. My daughter. She worries if I'm late. I nodded. You should go. He hesitated, then handed me a folded piece of paper. Tell company. Tell them Ethan sent you. They'll be fair. Ethan, I said softly, I never stopped loving you. He looked at me one last time, eyes steady, guarded, scarred. Love isn't what breaks people, he said. Choices do. Then he walked back to his truck, started the engine, and drove away, leaving me on the side of the road with a running car and a past that finally caught up to me. I didn't drive away right away. I sat there with the engine humming, hands locked around the steering wheel, staring at the empty stretch of road where Ethan's truck had disappeared. The mountain felt quieter than before, like it was holding its breath with me. He had kids. The words replayed over and over, each time landing heavier. Not because I was jealous, because I was confronted by the life he built without me, a life that kept going after I walked away like love was something I could reschedule. By the time I reached town, it was already dark. I checked into the only decent hotel nearby, the kind with thin walls and a flickering hallway light. I should have flown back to the city that night. I had meetings, a board vote, a life carefully designed to never slow down. Instead, I lay awake in a strange bed, staring at the ceiling, realizing something terrifying. For the first time in years, I didn't want to go back. Ethan stood in his kitchen, staring at the microwave clock as it ticked past 7. Dad, Lily called from the living room. You said you'd be home before dark. I know, sweetheart, he said, forcing a smile as he kicked off his boots. Truck trouble. Noah sat cross-legged on the floor, coloring carefully between the lines. Did you help someone again? Ethan paused. Again? You always help people, Lily said. Mrs. Green, the man with the flat tire, the lady who dropped her groceries. Ethan exhaled slowly. Yeah, I guess I do. He washed his hands at the sink, the cold water grounding him. But his mind was somewhere else, on a woman standing beside a dead engine, wearing success like armor and regret like a second skin. Claire. The name felt dangerous in his mouth. He hadn't planned on recognizing her, hadn't expected the past to come roaring back just because of one sentence, one familiar tone, one memory that refused to stay buried. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Ethan sat alone at the small kitchen table, staring at the folded tow company card he'd given her. He shouldn't have done that. He shouldn't have stopped, shouldn't have talked, shouldn't have let her see the life he'd built from the pieces she left behind. But deep down, he knew the truth. He didn't stop because her car broke down. He stopped because something in him still answered when her name was spoken. I stood by the hotel window, city lights far below, my reflection staring back at me like a stranger I didn't trust. Tomorrow, I told myself. Tomorrow I'll leave. But the lie tasted bitter, because somewhere up on that mountain, the man I once loved was putting his children to bed, and for the first time in a decade, my success felt painfully hollow. Fate didn't bring us together to be cruel. It brought us together because unfinished things don't stay buried forever. And whether I was ready or not, this story wasn't done with either of us. I woke up to my phone vibrating nonstop on the nightstand. 6 missed calls, 3 emails marked urgent, 1 message from my assistant that made my stomach drop. The board pushed the vote forward. You need to be here, today. I stared at the screen, heart pounding, then looked out the window toward the mountain I should have already left behind. I typed back slowly. Delay it 48 hours. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Claire, they won't like this. I don't either, I whispered to the empty room and set the phone down. For the first time in my life, I chose not to run toward control. Ethan felt it all day, like the air itself was off. At work, he mismeasured lumber twice, nearly cut his hand when his mind drifted. His boss noticed but said nothing, just gave him a look that carried more concern than frustration. By the time he picked the kids up from school, guilt sat heavy in his chest. Dad, Lily said as they drove home, do you ever miss someone you're not supposed to? He tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Why do you ask that? She shrugged. Sometimes I miss Mom even when I'm happy. That did it. He pulled over, not because the truck needed it, but because he did. He rested his forehead against the steering wheel, breathing slowly, reminding himself that grief and love could exist at the same time, but the past didn't get to rewrite the present. When they got home, he checked the mailbox and froze. An envelope, thick, cream-colored, no return address. His name written in a handwriting he'd never forget. Claire Adams. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside was a single page. I didn't come back to reopen old wounds. I came back because this town reminds me who I was before I forgot how to choose people over ambition. I won't reach out again, but if fate insists on crossing our paths once more, I won't run. No signature, just truth. I drove back up the mountain that evening without fully understanding why. Maybe I wanted closure. Maybe I wanted punishment. Maybe I wanted proof that I still had the courage to face what I broke. I parked outside his house without turning off the engine. Lights on, curtains half drawn, children's laughter spilling through the cracks of a life I was never meant to interrupt. I didn't knock. I sat there, hands folded, tears sliding quietly down my face. Because loving someone doesn't always mean being let back in. Sometimes it means standing outside and finally understanding the cost of leaving. Inside, Ethan stood at the kitchen sink, staring out the window. He saw the car. He knew it was her. And for the first time since she walked away all those years ago, he didn't feel anger. He felt fear. Because some doors, once reopened, don't close the same way again. I was still sitting there when the front door opened. Not wide, not dramatic, just enough. Ethan stepped out onto the porch, jacket pulled tight, eyes locked on my car like he was trying to decide whether I was real or just another memory refusing to fade. You can't park there, he said, voice low. Kids are sleeping. I nodded, quickly wiping my face. I know, I'm sorry. I wasn't going to knock. Then why are you here? He asked. I didn't have a rehearsed answer. For once in my life, I didn't try to manufacture one. Because it didn't leave the way I should have, I said, and I don't want to disappear the same way. Silence stretched between us, heavy but not hostile. You wrote the letter, he said. Yes. You said you wouldn't reach out again. I didn't, I replied softly. I came to say goodbye the right way. He studied me for a long moment, then sighed. You don't get to rewrite endings just because you're ready now. I know, I whispered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for honesty. Before he could respond, the porch light flicked on behind him. Daddy? A small voice called. My heart stopped. A little girl stood in the doorway, hair messy from sleep, clutching a worn stuffed rabbit. Ethan turned immediately. Lily, go back inside. She blinked at me instead. Who's she? I stood up slowly, keeping my distance. I'm a friend. Ethan stiffened. Claire. I won't come closer, I said quickly. I promise. Another smaller figure appeared behind Lily, rubbing his eyes. Why is there a lady crying in the driveway? He asked. That did it. I pressed my hand over my mouth as the tears finally broke free. Ethan closed his eyes, jaw tight, then looked back at me. 5 minutes, he said. That's all. I stepped onto the porch, heart pounding so loudly I was sure the children could hear it. I'm Claire, I said gently, kneeling down to their level. I'm sorry it's late. Lily studied me carefully. You look sad. I nodded. I am. She thought about that, then held out her rabbit. You can hold Mr. Buttons. He helps when people are sad. Something inside me cracked open completely. Thank you, I whispered, accepting the toy like it was sacred. Ethan watched the exchange, something unreadable passing through his eyes. Noah yawned. Daddy, is she staying? Ethan answered without looking at me. No. The word landed exactly where it was meant to. I stood up, gently returning the rabbit. Thank you for the 5 minutes, I said. I won't intrude again. As I turned to leave, Lily spoke. Daddy, she said quietly, she's not scary. I paused. So did Ethan. And in that small moment, with a child's innocent observation hanging in the air, I realized something terrifying. The hardest part wouldn't be facing Ethan. It would be earning the right to be near the lives he built without me. By morning, the town knew I was back. I felt it the moment I stepped into the small diner on Main Street. The pause in conversation, the subtle glances, the way eyes lingered just long enough to recognize me, then quickly looked away. This place remembered everything, especially the girl who left and never looked back. I ordered coffee I didn't drink and sat by the window, pretending not to notice the whispers. She's the one who moved to the city. Didn't she leave someone behind? I heard she's rich now. None of them knew the truth. That success didn't stop me from crying in a hotel room last night. That money didn't soften the look on Ethan's face when he said no. That the only thing I wanted was something I didn't deserve. Across town, Ethan stood in the hardware store aisle, staring at a shelf of light bulbs he didn't need. Earth to Ethan, his coworker said. You going to pick one or just judge them all day? Sorry, Ethan muttered, but his mind wasn't there. It was on the way Lily had handed me her rabbit, on how natural it felt, too natural, to watch me kneel in front of his children like I belonged there. That scared him more than anger ever did, because anger was easy. Anger kept distance. What he felt last night, that was something else. When he picked the kids up from school, Lily climbed into the back seat and buckled herself in carefully. Daddy, she said, is Claire the lady who made you sad a long time ago? His chest tightened. Why would you ask that? She looked like you do when you think no one's watching. He didn't answer. That evening, as I walked back toward my car, someone called my name. Claire? I turned. It was Mrs. Hensley, Ethan's old neighbor, the woman who used to bring us soup when we couldn't afford heat. You came back, she said softly. Yes, I replied, for a little while. She nodded, eyes kind but knowing. Some doors don't close properly. They just wait. I smiled faintly. I'm learning that. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. If you're still in town, we need to talk. Not about us. About the kids. My breath caught. I typed back slowly. Whenever you're ready. The reply came almost instantly. Tomorrow. After school. I leaned against the car, heart racing, not with hope, but with responsibility, because this wasn't about what I wanted anymore. It was about whether I could exist in his world without breaking it again. And somewhere deep down, I knew the real test hadn't even begun yet. The school parking lot smelled like wet asphalt and crayons. I sat in my car with the engine off, hands folded in my lap, rehearsing sentences I might never say. I'm sorry felt too small. I never meant to hurt you felt dishonest, because intent didn't erase impact. Ethan arrived late. I watched him through the windshield, how he helped Noah with his backpack, how Lily skipped beside him, how his hand rested protectively on her shoulder. It was such an ordinary gesture, and it shattered me. He told the kids to wait by the fence. Then he walked toward me. He didn't smile, he didn't scowl either. His face was calm in a way that felt deliberate, practiced, like a wall he'd learned to build brick by brick. Thanks for coming, he said. Thank you for agreeing, I replied. We stood there, two people who knew each other too well, pretending we didn't. I'll say this once, and I need you to hear it without interrupting. I nodded. My kids are not a bridge back to me. They're not a test run. They're not a way for you to make peace with your past. My throat tightened. I know. No, he said quietly. You think you know. But last night when Lily handed you her rabbit, when Noah asked if you were staying, that wasn't harmless. That was them attaching. I never encouraged it, I whispered. You didn't stop it either. That one landed. He exhaled slowly. They already lost their mom. They don't get a second loss. Not because an adult wasn't sure what she wanted. I closed my eyes. Shame burned behind them. You're right, I said. I don't deserve access to them, and I won't push for it. That surprised him. He studied my face like he was looking for a trick. So why are you here? He asked. I swallowed. Because there's something you don't know, and before you decide what boundaries to set, you deserve the truth. His jaw tightened. I thought we were done with that. We're not, I said softly. Not yet. Silence stretched between us. The kids laughed in the background. Life kept moving. Finally, he said, You have 5 minutes. I nodded. I left because I was scared. He scoffed. You left because you wanted more. Yes, I said, but not in the way you think. I told him about the job offer that wasn't just a job, how it came with strings, expectations, a future that didn't include uncertainty. I told him about the panic attacks I hid, the way I convinced myself that stability meant safety, even if it meant losing love. I didn't think you'd wait, I said. I didn't think anyone would. His voice was low. So you decided for me. Yes. He looked away, eyes glassy but controlled. You don't get credit for honesty now. I'm not asking for credit, I said. I'm asking you to understand that I didn't leave because you weren't enough. He laughed once, bitter. That's worse. I flinched. Do you know what it's like? He continued. To explain to a child why someone they love disappeared? To answer questions you don't have answers for? My voice broke. I know I caused that, and I'll carry it. Another pause. Then he said something I wasn't prepared for. The kids ask about you sometimes. My heart stuttered. They do? I don't answer, he said, because I don't know what story to tell yet. He stepped back, creating distance again. Here's the boundary. You don't see them unless I invite you. No surprises, no accidental moments. I understand. And as for us, he added, there is no us. Not right now, maybe not ever. I nodded, tears spilling despite my effort. That's fair. He turned to walk away, then stopped. But, he said without facing me, if you're staying in town, prove you can be consistent. Not for me, for them. Then he walked back to his children. I sat there long after they drove away, letting the truth settle. This wasn't a love story anymore. It was a responsibility story. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly what was being asked of me. Not passion, not forgiveness, consistency. The next morning, my phone buzzed while I was making coffee. A message from Lily. Hi, can I come see you today? My chest froze. Every rule I'd promised to honor, the boundary Ethan had set, screamed at me. Do not respond. Do not encourage. But my thumb hovered over the screen. I knew if I ignored her, she would feel rejection again. And I couldn't do that, not after everything. Of course, I typed, trying to keep it casual. What time? Minutes later, the doorbell rang. My hands trembled as I opened it to find her standing there, backpack slung crookedly over one shoulder, hair messy from the playground, eyes wide and hopeful. Hi, she whispered. Hi, pumpkin, I said, crouching to her level. My heart ached seeing her so small, so vulnerable. We walked to the living room where she sat cross-legged on the carpet, hugging her stuffed rabbit. I I just wanted to see you, she said, voice soft but determined. I nodded. I know, baby. I'm glad you did. We spent the next hour drawing, talking about school, and building Lego castles that collapsed too quickly. Every laugh and question tore at me, because every moment I was bending the rules Ethan had laid down. Finally, the inevitable question. When can I see Noah? I froze. The boundary flashed in my mind like a warning light, but I couldn't lie to her. Soon, I said carefully, but we have to wait until your dad says it's okay. Her shoulders slumped. He doesn't like me, does he? No, I said quickly. He's protective. He just wants to make sure you're safe, that's all. She nodded but didn't look convinced. I wished I could explain everything, but I couldn't. Not yet. Not without Ethan knowing. As she left, I hugged her tight. She whispered, I missed you. I closed the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. Ethan's voice echoed in my head. Consistency. Not for me, for them. And I realized something. The hardest part wasn't keeping the rules. It was watching a child's heart stretch toward me, knowing I had to measure every step. Because love without control could hurt more than absence ever would. It was a Saturday afternoon when everything changed. Noah had a small soccer match in the neighborhood park. I offered to take him, just as a friendly gesture, nothing more. Ethan had said no, but I rationalized it. It's only an hour, just for fun. Noah's excitement was contagious. His little legs carried him across the field, and I found myself laughing as he chased the ball with reckless energy. Then I saw Lily. She was standing by the sideline, backpack in hand, eyes wide as she watched her brother play. My heart stopped. She wasn't supposed to be here. I froze, hoping Ethan hadn't sent anyone. But the moment she saw Noah, she ran toward him, arms wide, shouting his name. Noah! He turned and grinned, sprinting to her. The two of them collided in a hug that nearly knocked them both over. I felt a pang of guilt and warmth all at once. The sight of them together, it was too much, too fast. Then I heard a voice I knew too well. Kelsey? Ethan. He stood at the edge of the field, jaw tight, eyes stormy. My stomach dropped. What what are you doing here? His voice was calm, but it carried the weight of every unspoken warning. I he we were just playing soccer, I stammered. I didn't You didn't what? He snapped. You didn't follow the rules I set? You didn't respect me as the parent? Noah looked between us, confused. Lily clung to her brother, sensing the tension, but not understanding it. I I just wanted them to have fun, I whispered. Ethan's gaze softened slightly as he looked at the kids, but then it hardened again. Kelsey, rules aren't just suggestions. They're boundaries, for you and for them. You think you're helping, but you're breaking trust. I swallowed hard, feeling the shame burn. I know, I wanted them to be happy. Ethan stepped closer. I get it, but happiness without guidance can hurt. You're not a parent here, not yet, and you have to respect that. Noah tugged at Ethan's hand. Daddy, she's my friend. I like her. Lily whispered, Please don't be mad at her. My chest ached. I had crossed the line, and the consequences were here, written in Ethan's eyes, and the sudden silence of the playground, and the kids' uncertain expressions. Ethan took a deep breath and said, We'll talk at home, all of us. But Kelsey, you need to understand why boundaries exist, for them and for you. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes. I understand. I really do. But deep down, I knew this was just the beginning. Because from this moment on, every choice, every step I took with Noah and Lily would be watched and tested. And I had no idea if my heart could survive the next test. That evening, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Noah and Lily were upstairs getting ready for bed, but the tension in the living room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ethan sat across from me on the couch, arms folded, eyes studying me like he was measuring my very soul. Kelsey, he began slowly, I've been watching you. Not just today, all this time. I see the way you care, the way you try, but caring isn't enough. You need to prove that you can handle responsibility. I swallowed hard. I, I will. I'll do whatever it takes. He leaned back, exhaling sharply. Tomorrow morning, I'm leaving the house for a few hours. You'll be in charge of Noah and Lily. No interference from me, no calls, no guidance. You handle them fully. My stomach dropped. Ethan, It's the only way I'll know if you're serious, he interrupted. If you fail, Kelsey, I can't trust you with them, and you know what that means. I nodded, trying to hide my panic. I understand. I won't fail. The next morning came faster than I expected. Ethan kissed the kids on the forehead, reminded them to listen, and then left without a single backward glance at me. The moment the door clicked shut, reality hit me. Noah ran toward the kitchen, hungry and full of energy. Lily followed, shyly clutching her small backpack. Okay, breakfast first, I said, trying to sound calm. Can we have pancakes? Noah begged, bouncing on his heels. Of course, I smiled, though inside I felt the weight of responsibility pressing down. The morning was chaos. Pancakes burned, juice spilled, and Lily cried because Noah accidentally took the last strawberry. But amidst the mess, there were moments of pure joy. Noah's laughter when I made a pancake flip perfectly, Lily's shy smile when I braided her hair. By noon, I was exhausted, but a strange pride settled in. I was doing it. I was really doing it. Then, out of nowhere, Ethan returned. An hour earlier than expected. My heart leaped. "How's it going?" he asked, tone neutral. I hesitated, then took a deep breath. "It's hard, but we're okay. They're happy, we're fine." He studied me for a long moment. Then he smiled, just slightly, but it was enough to melt the tension in my chest. "Not bad," he admitted. "You kept them safe, fed, and sane. That's more than I expected." Noah ran to him, hugging him tightly. Lily followed, hiding behind me. Ethan knelt to her level. "And you? Did Kelsey do okay?" Lily peeked out, nodding shyly. "Yes, she's nice." Something inside me fluttered. It wasn't just approval, it was acceptance from him, from them. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. Tomorrow, the challenges would grow harder, and so would my feelings for Noah, for Lily, and for Ethan himself. Because being near him wasn't just about earning trust anymore. It was about wanting something I wasn't sure I could ever have. The next morning started like any other, sunlight pouring through the windows, birds chirping outside, but something felt off. I sensed it before Noah did, before Lily did. My gut tightened, an instinct I didn't know I had. I was in the kitchen preparing breakfast when I heard a loud thud upstairs, followed by a terrified scream. My heart froze. "Noah? Lily?" I shouted, running up the stairs. The sight that met me made my stomach drop. Noah had climbed onto his bunk bed and somehow slipped, landing awkwardly on the floor. He was holding his arm, wincing, tears streaming down his face. "Oh my God, Noah, stay still," I said, rushing to his side, trying to keep my own panic under control. Lily clung to my leg, her tiny fingers digging into my pajama pants. "Mommy, he's hurt," she whispered, her voice shaking. I knelt beside Noah, examining his arm. It wasn't broken, I hoped. It was bent at a strange angle, but he could move his fingers. Still, I knew better than to take chances. "Noah, I need you to be very brave for me. Can you do that?" He nodded, tears falling freely. I scooped him up gently, carrying him downstairs. The phone in my hand trembled as I dialed Ethan. "Ethan, something happened. Noah fell," I blurted out as soon as he picked up. "Where are you?" he asked sharply. "Home. I'm taking him to the couch. I think it's his arm, maybe just bruised." "I'm on my way," he said, already in motion. I paced the living room, trying to calm Noah and distract him, while Lily clung to me like a lifeline. The minutes dragged. When Ethan finally arrived, his presence was commanding, protective, and it immediately eased some of the tension. "What happened?" he asked, crouching beside us. "Noah fell from the bunk bed," I explained quickly. "I think it's just a bad bruise, but I wanted to call you immediately." He nodded, inspecting Noah with a careful, practiced gaze. "Okay, it's swollen, but it's not broken. You did the right thing by staying calm and calling me." My chest tightened, a mix of relief and something else. Pride, maybe. I had faced a real emergency and managed it. I had been responsible. Noah slowly smiled through his tears. "I was scared," he admitted. "I know, baby, but you're safe now," I said, holding him close. Ethan looked at me, his eyes softer than before. "Kelsey, you handled that perfectly. I'm impressed. You're not just capable, you're amazing with them." Lily peeked at me from behind his leg, shy but smiling. "She really is," she whispered. For the first time, I allowed myself to believe it. Maybe, just maybe, I belonged here, with them. But deep down, a new worry settled in. Because if I had handled this, I knew the next challenge wouldn't be easy either. And Ethan's trust, once tested, was a double-edged sword. The closer I got to him, the more I realized that what I felt for him was becoming impossible to hide. And hiding feelings in this house, especially when hearts were so fragile, was never going to be simple. The days after Noah's fall were quieter, but the silence carried a weight of tension I couldn't shake. Ethan had returned to his work schedule, leaving me alone with the kids more often. Yet something had shifted. The way he looked at me now, lingering glances, softening expressions, made my chest ache and my mind race. Noah was recovering faster than expected, but he had become clingy. He followed me around the house, insisting I sit with him even for the smallest tasks. Lily mirrored him, always close, her tiny hand holding mine as if I were her anchor. One evening, I was helping Noah with his homework when a knock at the door startled us. Ethan answered, and I could hear hushed voices in the hallway. Curious, I peeked around the corner. It was a man, older, well-dressed, carrying a briefcase. He seemed familiar. Ethan's expression hardened immediately, his jaw tightening. "Who was he?" I whispered, my heart skipping a beat. "That's Mr. Whitmore, from my father's company," Ethan murmured. His eyes flickered to mine briefly, a silent warning. The conversation that followed was tense. The man was there about legal matters concerning the house, some dispute from Ethan's father's estate that had been buried in paperwork until now. Ethan explained calmly but firmly that nothing would disrupt our lives, but I could sense the storm brewing beneath his polished words. Later, after the man left, Ethan leaned against the kitchen counter, rubbing his temple. "Kelsey, I didn't want to drag you into this. It's complicated and messy, but it might affect us sooner than I thought." I approached him, my hand brushing his arm. "Ethan, whatever it is, we can face it together. We're a team now." He looked at me, a mixture of surprise and something deeper. Relief, maybe. Even hope. "A team," he repeated, his voice softer. "Yes, we are." For the first time, the house felt like more than a shelter for the kids and me. It felt like a place where we could protect each other, where trust and love could grow, even in the middle of chaos. But I also knew one truth. Secrets like these rarely stayed hidden, and the closer I got to Ethan and the kids, the harder it would be to shield them from what was coming. As I tucked Noah and Lily into bed that night, their sleepy faces peaceful and trusting, I promised myself one thing. No matter what, I would protect them. And maybe, in the process, I would find a place for myself in this broken, complicated family. Little did I know, the real test was still waiting, and it would shake the foundation of everything we had begun to build. The next morning, the tension from yesterday still lingered in the air. Ethan left early for work, and I stayed behind, trying to get the kids ready for school. But something felt off. My instincts screamed that the calm was temporary, fragile, like a bubble about to burst. Around mid-morning, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman standing there, her posture stiff, her expression unreadable. She held a folder tightly in her hands, her eyes scanning the house as if looking for someone. "Can I help you?" I asked cautiously, glancing at Noah and Lily. "I'm looking for Ethan Harper," she said, her voice steady, almost cold. "It's about something that happened before he met you." My stomach twisted. "What do you mean?" She handed me the folder. "You should read this. It's important you know the truth." Inside were documents, photos, and letters, evidence of things I never imagined. There were hints of Ethan's involvement in business deals that went wrong, accusations of betrayal, and even whispers of someone being hurt financially because of him. Noah tugged at my sleeve. "Mom, what's wrong?" I swallowed hard, my hand trembling slightly. "It's complicated, honey. Just go play with Lily for a bit." The woman's eyes softened for a moment. "I'm not here to hurt anyone, but you need to know who you're really living with. This could affect the children, too." I felt a surge of anger and fear. "Ethan?" I muttered under my breath, thinking of him at work, unaware of this confrontation happening in our home. Minutes later, Ethan returned. His face fell the moment he saw the woman. "Kelsey, I can explain," he said, his voice tense but calm. I held up the folder. "Explain this, Ethan. Why didn't you tell me?" He ran his hands through his hair, a mixture of frustration and regret on his face. I wanted to protect you, the kids. Some things from my past, they don't define me now. I never wanted them to hurt this family we're building. I shook my head, tears threatening to spill. Do you realize how much you've risked? How much I've trusted you? Noah peeked from the living room, sensing the tension. Ethan crouched down, holding him gently. Buddy, nothing from the past can take away what we have now. I promise you, I'll protect you both, always. I studied him, searching for signs of truth in his eyes. For a long, tense moment, silence filled the room. Finally, I took a deep breath. We'll deal with this, together. But no more secrets, Ethan, not anymore. He nodded solemnly, relief and guilt mixing in his expression. No more secrets. But deep down, I knew the storm was far from over. The past had a way of clawing back into the present, and this time it wouldn't just be our trust at stake. The days that followed were tense, filled with a fragile calm that felt like walking on thin ice. Ethan tried to maintain normalcy, going to work and playing the role of the doting father and partner. But I noticed the way his eyes darted at every phone call, how he flinched at certain knocks on the door. The past wasn't done with him yet. It was just waiting for the right moment to strike. One evening, as I was putting Noah and Lily to bed, my phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. Hesitant, I answered. Kelsey, it's me, a voice said, low and deliberate. I know what Ethan's hiding. You don't know the half of it. My hand tightened around the phone. Who is this? You don't need to know my name. Just know your family is in danger if you keep believing the lies he's told. He's not the man you think he is. The line went dead. My heart pounded, my mind racing. I looked at the kids' peaceful, sleeping faces, and a cold wave of fear settled over me. Who could I trust, and how deep did Ethan's secrets go? The next day, I confronted Ethan. You need to tell me everything, no more half-truths. I need the full story now. Ethan's face paled. He hesitated, then led me to the study. All right, but once I say this, there's no going back. He pulled out a drawer and retrieved a small, worn envelope. Everything started years ago, before I ever met you, before I became the man you see today. There were decisions, bad ones. I tried to fix them, but some people never forgive. He hesitated, swallowing hard. I owe money to dangerous people. People who wouldn't hesitate to hurt anyone connected to me. My family, my children, even you. I froze. You knew this and you brought us here? I never wanted you involved. I thought I could handle it. I thought I could shield you and the kids. But I was wrong. His voice broke. I see that now. Noah's laugh echoed from the hallway as he played with Lily. I realized then how innocent they were, how unaware they were of the storm heading straight for our door. And I made a silent vow. I would protect them at all costs, even if it meant facing the darkest parts of Ethan's past myself. The tension in the house thickened as shadows from his past crept closer, threatening to unravel everything. I knew this was only the beginning, and the choices we made next could either save us or destroy the fragile family we had built. That night, sleep eluded me. Every creak in the house, every distant sound made me tense. Ethan tried to reassure me, but the fear in his eyes mirrored my own. By midnight, I couldn't stay still any longer. I walked down the hallway and peeked out the front window. A black SUV was parked across the street, engine running, shadows moving inside. My stomach dropped. I knew. This was the first warning. The people from Ethan's past weren't waiting any longer. They had come for us. I shook Ethan awake. They're here. He cursed under his breath, rushing to the door. Stay inside, don't make a sound, lock everything. Noah and Lily were still asleep, oblivious to the danger outside. I crouched beside them, trying to calm my racing heart. My mind spun with possibilities. What if they found us? What if they took the children? Minutes passed like hours. Then a knock, sharp and deliberate, echoed through the silent house. Ethan froze. "Do not open it," he whispered. Another knock, louder this time, rattling the wooden door. I could feel the malicious intent vibrating through the walls. Ethan peeked through the peephole. Two men stood there, their faces hidden by the shadows of the streetlights. I could sense the danger radiating off them. He turned to me, voice low but urgent. "I need to do this. I have to face them. I have no choice. Stay with the kids, lock yourselves in the bedroom. Don't come out until I call you." I wanted to protest, to demand he not leave, but I knew arguing wouldn't help. I nodded, heart hammering, and ushered the children into our bedroom, locking the door behind us. From behind the door, I could hear muffled voices, the sound of a struggle, the occasional harsh word. Fear gripped me, but I forced myself to stay silent, listening, waiting, praying. Minutes later, the sounds stopped. Silence returned, thick and suffocating. My hands were shaking as I held Noah close. Then Ethan's voice, strained and desperate, called from the other side of the door. "It's over, for now, but they will come back. We have no time. We have to leave. Tonight." I realized then that nothing would ever be the same. The life we thought we had was gone, replaced by a world of secrets, danger, and impossible choices. And I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I would never let anything happen to my children, not even if it meant standing against the man I loved, the man who had hidden so much from me. By 2 a.m., we were packed and ready. Ethan had gathered only what we could carry: passports, a few clothes, the children's essentials. The rest, including the life we had tried to build here, had to be left behind. Noah rubbed his eyes, still half asleep, while Lily clutched her small teddy bear. I held them both tightly, whispering reassurances I didn't fully feel. Fear clawed at me, but I forced my voice calm. "We're going somewhere safe. Everything will be okay." Ethan kept glancing at the windows, alert for any movement outside. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched. I had never seen him like this: controlled, sharp, dangerous, but also utterly terrified. We slipped out through the back door, moving quickly but silently toward the SUV parked behind the garage. Ethan had planned this meticulously. He had even removed the license plates, and the car's engine was cold but ready. As we drove away from the neighborhood, the shadows of our old life faded behind us. I tried to focus on the road ahead, on keeping the children calm, but my mind wouldn't stop replaying the knocks at the door, the faces in the peephole. Who were they? What did they want? And why had Ethan never told me the full truth? Minutes later, Ethan spoke, breaking the tense silence. "I should have told you sooner. You deserve to know everything, but it wasn't safe." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel, my heart hammering. "Then tell me now," I demanded, voice low but urgent. "No more secrets, no more lies. I need the truth, Ethan, all of it." He exhaled sharply. "Fine, but it's complicated and dangerous. What I've been running from, it's not just debts or enemies. It's something far worse. And if they find us, they won't stop until they get what they want, and they'll hurt anyone in their way." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his words settle like a stone in my chest. "Then we have to be smarter, faster, stronger. We can't let them win, not the children, not us." Ethan nodded, his eyes dark but resolute. "We leave the city tonight. I know a place, a safe house, far away, hidden. But it won't be easy to get there. They're already looking for us." I held the children close, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. but had no choice but to try. The night stretched before us, full of shadows and uncertainty. One thing was certain: the world we thought we knew, the life we imagined, had vanished, and the real test of love, trust, and survival was only just beginning. The city lights faded behind us, swallowed by the darkness of the highway. The children were asleep in the back seat, their small bodies curled up, trusting us completely, even as the world around them seemed to crumble. I stole glances at Ethan, who drove with a focus that bordered on obsession, every muscle tense, every sense alert. "I've been careless," he muttered quietly, almost to himself. "I thought I could handle it. Thought I could keep you and the kids safe without telling you, but they always find a way." I didn't respond. Words felt useless here. Fear, yes, but also determination. Somehow we had to reach this safe house or everything would be lost. After nearly an hour of silent driving, a sudden noise made Ethan jerk the wheel. A black SUV had appeared behind us, its headlights off, but its presence unmistakable. My stomach dropped. "They found us," Ethan whispered, voice tight. "I told you, I warned you, but we have a chance. We just need to shake them off." I gripped the dashboard, heart racing. The children stirred in the back seat, their small voices murmuring in sleep. I whispered, "It's okay. It's okay. Mommy's here." But inside, panic clawed at me. Ethan's hands were steady as he maneuvered through the winding roads, taking sharp turns and back streets that I barely recognized. "Hold on," he said, more to himself than me. "I know a route. They'll lose track of us soon." Minutes felt like hours. My palms were sweaty, the tension in the car almost suffocating. Every shadow, every flicker of light made my heart jump. And then suddenly, the black SUV vanished from our mirrors. I exhaled shakily. Are, are we safe?" Ethan didn't answer immediately. Finally, he said, "For now, but not for long. We're getting close to the safe house. After that, we can figure out the rest. But we need to move fast. No mistakes." The road ahead seemed endless, dark and quiet, but I knew the danger was far from over. Ethan glanced at me, eyes filled with both apology and resolve. "Once we reach it, I can finally explain everything. But until then, we survive. That's all that matters." I nodded, my resolve hardening. We had escaped the city, escaped immediate danger, but the real battle, the fight for our freedom and safety, was just beginning. The night stretched on, heavy with fear, but also with a fragile glimmer of hope. By the time the first hints of dawn touched the horizon, the safe house appeared in the distance. It was a secluded, almost forgotten property, hidden behind overgrown trees and a rusted iron gate. Ethan slowed the car, his eyes scanning every shadow. "This is it," he said, voice low. "We should be able to stay hidden here, at least for a while." I watched him step out first, opening the gate with a cautious glance over his shoulder. The children stirred, sensing the change, and I followed, carrying our youngest, who clung to me as if he could feel the danger in the air. Inside, the house was dusty and abandoned, but solid. Ethan quickly moved to check the locks, securing doors and windows with a precision that told me he had done this before. "We need to stay quiet," he said. "No signals, no lights, nothing that could give us away." I nodded, setting the children down in a small corner room with blankets. Their soft breathing reminded me why I had to be strong, even when fear tried to choke me. Ethan went through drawers, cupboards, and even under the floorboards, making sure the place was safe. I thought this would be enough," he muttered, almost to himself, brushing dust off an old chair. "But they're relentless. They always find a way." I sat beside him, touching his arm. "Then we'll be smarter. We'll be ready." He looked at me, a rare vulnerability in his eyes. "There's something you need to know," he said. "I didn't just bring you here for safety. There's a reason they want the children. And it's tied to me, to my past, to mistakes I made long before you ever knew me. My heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Ethan hesitated, running a hand through his hair. I can't explain everything yet, not until we're completely safe. But it's bigger than us. They won't stop until they get what they want, and we have very little time. A sudden sound, just a whisper of metal scraping, made both of us freeze. I clutched the children closer. Ethan's hand went to his pocket, where I knew he kept a weapon. The house, meant to be our sanctuary, suddenly felt like a trap, and somewhere outside, unseen, someone was already watching. I realized then, safety was just an illusion, and the fight was far from over. The sound lingered for a moment, faint but unmistakable, a metallic scrape, like someone testing the locks. Ethan moved first, signaling me to stay low with the children. He crept toward the front of the house, every step measured, silent, like a predator in a forest. I pressed myself against the wall, holding our youngest tightly, my heart hammering. The older child peeked over my shoulder, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, what's happening?" he whispered. "I don't know yet," I said, forcing calm into my voice, though my chest felt like it would burst. "Just stay quiet, okay?" Ethan reached the door and froze. Outside, in the thin morning light, a single envelope lay on the porch, held down by a small rock. He bent down slowly, picked it up, and tore it open with a gloved hand. His eyes scanned the paper, and I could see his face darken with every line. "It's from them. They know we're here. And this isn't just a warning, it's a countdown." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. A countdown to what? He folded the letter and crushed it in his hand. "To taking the children. They've been planning this for months. Everything I've done, all my precautions, it wasn't enough. They've always been one step ahead." I shook my head in disbelief. Then what do we do?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "We fight. We can't run anymore. I've kept secrets from you because I wanted to protect you. But now the only way to survive is to confront them. And I have a plan, but it's dangerous. If it fails—" I interrupted him, my voice shaking but firm. "It won't fail. We'll do whatever it takes. I won't let them take my children. Or your children, Ethan. We're together in this." He looked at me, a mix of gratitude and fear in his eyes. "Good. We start preparing. Every detail matters now. They'll come, and when they do, we'll be ready." The children stirred again, sensing the tension, and I hugged them tighter. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the old windows, as if the house itself knew the storm that was coming. And for the first time, I understood. This was no longer just about hiding, it was about surviving and winning. The sound lingered for a moment, faint but unmistakable. A metallic scrape, like someone testing the locks. Ethan moved first, signaling me to stay low with the children. He crept toward the front of the house, every step measured, silent, like a predator in a forest. I pressed myself against the wall, holding our youngest tightly, my heart hammering. The older child peeked over my shoulder, eyes wide with fear. "Mom, what's happening?" he whispered. "I don't know yet," I said, forcing calm into my voice, though my chest felt like it would burst. "Just stay quiet, okay?" Ethan reached the door and froze. Outside, in the thin morning light, a single envelope lay on the porch, held down by a small rock. He bent down slowly, picked it up, and tore it open with a gloved hand. His eyes scanned the paper, and I could see his face darken with every line. "It's from them. They know we're here. And this isn't just a warning. It's a countdown." I felt a chill crawl down my spine. A countdown? To what? He folded the letter and crushed it in his hand. "To taking the children. They've been planning this for months. Everything I've done, all my precautions, it wasn't enough. They've always been one step ahead." I shook my head in disbelief. Then, then what do we do? Ethan's jaw tightened. We fight. We can't run anymore. I've kept secrets from you because I wanted to protect you, but now the only way to survive is to confront them, and I have a plan, but it's dangerous. If it fails, I interrupted him, my voice shaking but firm. It won't fail. We'll do whatever it takes. I won't let them take my children, or your children, Ethan. We're together in this. He looked at me, a mix of gratitude and fear in his eyes. Good. We start preparing. Every detail matters now. They'll come, and when they do, we'll be ready. The children stirred again, sensing the tension, and I hugged them tighter. Outside, the wind picked up, rattling the old windows, as if the house itself knew the storm that was coming. And for the first time, I understood. This was no longer just about hiding. It was about surviving and winning. The footsteps stopped. Silence fell heavier than any storm I'd ever known. Ethan tightened his grip on the wrench, his knuckles white. I could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. Suddenly, the door burst open. Shadows moved inside, but before they could reach the children, Ethan lunged forward. The fight was chaotic, desperate, and fast. Every strike, every push carried the weight of fear and love. Fear for the children, love for their safety. I grabbed a lamp and swung it, shattering it against one intruder's head. He crumpled, stunned. The other two froze, eyes wide with shock. It was as if they hadn't expected anyone to fight back. Ethan's voice cut through the chaos, commanding and calm. Leave, now. For a moment, nothing moved. Then, slowly, one by one, they stumbled back toward the door. Fear had replaced arrogance. They didn't take another step inside. When the door finally slammed shut, the silence returned. But it was different now. The house felt alive, victorious, and safe. The children clung to us, trembling but smiling faintly, knowing that the danger had passed. Ethan sank to the floor, exhausted but smiling. They'll never come back, he said, almost to himself. Not after tonight. I looked around at the house, the place that had once been a prison, now a fortress of survival and love. Everything had changed. The widow, the children, and even I had found strength we never knew we had. Days later, the news reported the arrest of a gang responsible for a series of burglaries in the neighborhood. Karma, it seemed, had a perfect sense of timing. The ones who tried to destroy us were caught, powerless and humiliated. We never forgot that night. The fear, the fight, the bond it forged between us. It was the moment we truly became a family that refused to break, no matter how dark the world outside became. And as I tucked the children into bed that night, I whispered a silent promise to myself and to them. No matter what happens, we survive. We protect each other, and justice always finds its way.